there's really three levels of communication and conversation that are critical as CMOs develop their marketing strategies. But I'm really glad to have you here because you're an expert on communications, and I think it's safe to say that effective communication is really critical to driving all business outcomes, whether it's internal communications, external communications. So I guess my first question would be just kind of starting off high level. What do you see as so important about communications?
Absolutely, Jay. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. And I think, as you said, though when you think about business results, whether it's internal results or external results, ironically, I would even say let's park communications for a moment and start with those strategic outcomes that you were referring to, the ones that matter most to CEOs and senior leaders. Certainly including, but not solely commercial outcomes of the organization, whether that's recruitment, whether that's ESG targets, whether that's decreases in legal settlements. The thing is, when it comes to those true business outcomes, when you really think about it, they either happen or don't happen due to real people doing real things, real behavioral change amongst key audiences. It's not about communicating to get audiences to think or feel a certain way or just to get likes. And don't get me wrong, those things are important to some degree. But that actually doesn't get the company really anything until those positive thoughts and feelings actually translate into tangible behaviors. And I always say, good communication, it informs audiences, but great communication changes behaviors among key audiences in ways that truly lead to strategic health, growth, and of course, commercial results for the organization. And here's the thing, in order to get anyone to change their behavior, great communication, it isn't just about telling or being able to shout louder through the newest shiny digital channels. Because again, I think we all know in communications and marketing, even when you do reach audiences, it doesn't necessarily mean that their perceptions will be changed in meaningful ways that truly help the company or that leads to results. So we always talk in communications about that need to really, step back and using communications as a way to really listen out for why audiences are not engaging in those desired behaviors in the first place. Maybe the actions we need audiences to engage in from their perspective might be difficult, or perhaps they're not seeing enough social proof from their peers that are doing the same behavior. Or maybe, quite frankly, they don't see how doing those things benefits them personally. Only by truly understanding why audiences are not engaging in behaviors can we truly craft great communications in marketing. So I think just in answer to your question, what is important about communications? When done well, when done really well, in ways that truly upfront understand our audiences, it's able to remove those behavioral barriers, the ones that are necessary for audiences to take action, and moreover, necessary for strategic results to actually happen. And until you've actually changed audience behavior as a result of messaging, whether that's behavior that is stopped, start, or by the way, continued, you might be doing a bunch of communications tactical stuff, but it certainly doesn't mean anything until you've actually driven that real behavioral shift. One thing I would actually just say in answer to your question, one final thing is, I spoke to a senior communications peer actually around some of our work around behavioral psychology needed within communications and marketing. And he said, Dean, after I've seen all this, I realized something. I'm not in the information business. I'm going to be in the behavioral change business. And I think that value proposition is certainly something that we both as communicators and marketers really need to aspire to, especially in today's ever-changing stakeholder environment.
So that's really interesting. Let me ask a follow-up question there. Just in terms of a high-level overview of why organizational communication is so important within a marketing team in particular.
Absolutely. Again, let's start with results. In this case, the results that matter to marketing teams. Of course, on a very high level, driving growth, sales, those commercial outcomes. And, even those goals, again, these goals will either happen or not happen due to marketers and commercial staff doing things differently within the organization, being aligned to ever-changing strategy, new customer expectations. And there's a real practical behavioral implication in terms of having to master new things, or having to stop doing the older things that matter less. And I think the role that communications has, that's sort of that unique listening capability, just even on the external side, organizational communication that gets to the heart of truly understanding not just what customers are, but moreover, who customers are, our company aside. And whether that listening comes in the form of things like, sophisticated audience-centric media monitoring, or whether that's collaborating with market research, or whether it's a good old focus group, the way that communications can support marketing outcomes by using audience insights and knowledge in ways that truly allows us to understand our audiences in meaningful ways. And having that alignment, again, it really allows marketing to create content that's more likely to resonate with customers, but also allows marketers to create tools for even sales staff that allows sales to have meaningful conversations in ways that can truly differentiate the corporate brand in those sort of initial conversations with a client. So I think in answer to your question, there's a lot there, but I think on a very high level, certainly a few reasons why certainly we see through the communication side, why it's so important within a marketing team in particular.